welcome, guys. This is Yu Tsai to Let's Talk. And today my guest is none other than David Curcurito, former editor, a former creative director of Esquire Magazine. And we got to work together for a very, very long time. And we have a lot of amazing stories. So today we're going to just jump right in and talk about our journey. So David, where are you right now?
I'm up in the Catskill Mountains. Like most New Yorkers, I've escaped the city and am quarantined in some beautiful landscape right now, actually. What about you? Are you in LA right now?
I'm in Los Angeles in a house and with my dog. We have a lot of what we call quarantine situation where different households, like my family, my mom, my aunt, we follow the same procedure. We quarantine in our own place, so we're able to cross over and see each other. But
that's good.
When it's necessary, like my mom, my family, I go visit on weekends and get them to do yoga and play mahjong with them to stay, like, stimulating our brains. But other than that, I think we all just stood up in our own place. So
I know. We're lucky. Well, I'm here with my wife, and who happens to be my business partner as well. And we haven't stopped working yet, unfortunately, which is great. So. I know most of I think after all of this is over, maybe we'll take a break while everybody goes back to work.
Well, let's talk about how you got to a place where you can be working all the time. So David, a lot of our viewers don't even know what it means to be a creative director, right? Okay. So can you give us a little definition and how your journey to become one?
Yeah, if I can get this camera situated, I can get into it here. There we go. All right, hands free.
You're good.
So, you want me to explain how I got here?
Well, define creative director. What is a creative director for a magazine or a design firm?
Yeah, let's just take a magazine, for example, because it's the thing that I'm probably most familiar with. Magazine creative director is responsible for the entire look of the magazine, from cover to typography to illustrations and paintings to the page size to every single thing that you look at. I'm responsible for.
Anything that's visual.
Anything that's visual. The way that you look at a magazine, the way that what your eye goes to first, what your eye goes to second, the mood of the photography, the mood of everything is under my jurisdiction, so to say. So, it was my responsibility to hire you to work with a photo director, Mike Norsing, who I worked for many years, to hire you and then a number of other photographers to create a look and feel and a pace for one issue. And we did that I did that for Esquire every month for 12 years.
Wow,
so, it's a long time.
Of history, amazing. Yeah. But how did you get there? Did you went to college to study creative direction?
I did. I didn't study I have a similar background as you, but what did you study? Engineering or medicine? I can't remember what you started.
Biology, pre-med.
Biology, yeah. So I started off as a painter and illustrator, and I studied at Parsons School of Design. I moved to New York with $1,000 in my pocket in 1988. That explains the gray hair. My father dropped me off in the back of a pickup truck from Albany, New York, and I studied there. And I had the greatest education. Parsons School of Design was the most incredible school. But as I was close to finishing my time there, I didn't know how I was going to be an illustrator. I just didn't have it in me to compete with some of the greats that I admired. So I kind of got a job haphazardly in graphic design. And I had a mentor. I was lucky enough to have a mentor. His name was Frank Davino. This was at a company called General Media years ago. And he took me aside and he said, "Kid, I'm going to teach you how to become a great art director because your illustration's not that good." So
we have such amazing. My skin is crawling because we have such a similar histories. Because I went to Art Center Pasadena, and I went in as a painting and illustration major.
You did,
and it's the same way that a year into it, they threatened to take my scholarship away because they said, "You're just not a good painter. How did you even get into school as a painter?" I said, "Well, my entire portfolio was actually a journal I kept when I was in Africa. There were just sketches of animals and leaves and transfer and landscape. They were just my journals. They were my sketchbook. And same at the same, I had a mentor, and I say it's a mentor now, but back then I hated him.
Yeah, it's always a love-hate relationship.
Well, you know, he actually literally said to me, "You kind of suck, and you're never going to be a painter. And all these people are incredibly gifted. They're painters' children. They're born to paint. You need to study graphic design and art direction because you have an idea, you have the foresight how to tell somebody what to do, and you can't do it yourself. So move on."
That's right.
Exactly what happened to me.
That's exactly right. You know, and we'll get to this point, but that's why, you know, when hiring photographers all these years, because I've been in this business for 30 years. I started as a professional when I was 21 years old. I was an art director by the time I was 24. I went on this real fast track. But I learned very early on, you hire people not to control them because of their talent. You don't have the talent to do, I don't have the talent to do what you do as a photographer, but I have a good eye for talent, you know, and I know what you're capable of and what you can produce and push you even further to do better than you've done before. I think that's a true definition of a creative director, to be quite honest, what we just said there, just to kind of roll back a little bit.
But I think having the painting experience and having the vocabulary of foreground, middle ground, background in painting. Well, I'm sure we all copied masters growing up, and I'm sure you sit there and copy hundreds of hands of Hogarth, the drawings of animation. We all went through the same kind of school training, and I have to say, my photography only can be what it is because I had that vocabulary of painting.
It's composition. That's right, because at the end of the day, if you study composition, color, anatomy is very. That's right.
Shadow and light.
That's right. That's right. Shadow and light. You color theory, and you understand texture and depth. You're on your way. You have to master those to become pretty good. You know, that's funny because I worked with a retoucher at Esquire, a guy who I loved very much, but he didn't understand anatomy, and he'd do retouching. He was one of the in-house guys that worked on all the titles that we had over there. You know, El Decor, Esquire. I mean, go on. It was Hearst Corporation. They owned everything. But he didn't understand anatomy. Therefore, every time he retouched, it never looked right because he didn't understand light and how light hits something.
However,
I mean, right now I have a beautiful light on me.
Right. Perhaps the most technical as well. He's probably so technical, but yet lack of that. It's almost like when somebody say, you want to get really good at football, go take ballet, right? You want to understand how to move fast, learn from something else that's so controlled but slow. And I think what a blessing for both of us having that education and background. And I'm not sure you know, but before I got into photography, I worked for Peter Arnell Group in New York. And
I think I knew that, but it's, you know, as a photographer working for a creative director, sometimes isn't always the best thing to say that you're also, you know.
And you're absolutely right.
It's all a delicate dance when you first work with somebody, isn't it?
I love that you said that because I literally changed my name. I had an American name at the time, and I can tell you, my name was Daniel. I don't look at anything like a Daniel. My name was Daniel. I was blonde. I literally was platinum blonde because I wanted to make sure I make a note in the industry and design. And I was like, oh, the Asian blonde guy. You're gonna hire the Asian blonde guy, and that was what I was in the creative direction world. But I didn't work. I didn't do a lot of print work for him at the agency. We were more strategy, but at that time, motion graphic and film was just moving so fast, which attests to our relationship when we started doing a lot of film.
That's absolutely right. We're going to go in 100 different directions here. I know, just talking with you, we haven't seen each other in quite a while.
I'll bring it back a little bit. So what I was saying is that I was working on a lot of the title design and graphic design. And the language of that is exactly what you see behind me, because what I was doing was moving, but I wasn't doing a still frame. Moving frames are often actually easier to create because you don't get to linger on a single frame and scrutinize it and look at it. And I know David here, when you create a cover with this much text, you're watching from kerning, you're watching for tracking. If you guys don't know what that is, we'll recommend books later for you guys to look up. But because I knew your background, I seen your work, when you finally contacted me to shoot with you, I was ecstatic because I was able to work with somebody who had the same vocabulary and understanding. And by the time we worked about 3-4 times later, you didn't have to say much to me. You're like, oh, I see what you're doing. I can do this on my end if you do this on your end.
That's right. That is the perfect relationship. And that's why we worked together for so long, because you understood what I was doing and I understood what you were doing. And that really works. You know, like, again, here's my theory. Take a bad picture, I have to over design it. Take a great photo, I can put just a little minimal amount of type on it, and my job
I'm going to take a note of that and see how many of my work has a lot of design on it from David. So, did you start as an apprentice? Did you start, and you started right away at age of 25?
I started as a junior photo editor, all right? And then back in the good old days before desktop publishing was just starting to come out, I ran the stat camera, which is basically a giant camera that allows you to blow up transparencies up and down at different sizes. I actually wanted to pull something out. I wanted to pull out, see if anybody, any of your audience knew what a loop was. You know what a loop is. Exactly.
Now they do this, David.
Yeah, exactly.
The loop is just zooming in, and we can do that on phones now. So not many people are looking at the loops. And that's because you were art directing, looking at film. You were working with 35 millimeter film.
35 mils, and then 4x5, 2 1/4, all transparency. So I was really good at looking at slides like that, and I just had it.
And you guys,
it actually helped. You know, it actually helped me on a shoot too. It actually helped me later on, because when you would shoot something, okay, and I'd see the flash go up, I could see the image immediately. I didn't have to look at the monitor. I would tell you exactly when you got it, and we can move on to something else, because I saw it. And I think a lot of my early training on viewing format that's not around anymore helped me with that.
And that's so true to how technology has evolved for photographers. When I first started, film was still prevalent. And I remember when I started shooting for magazines, and it was for Condé Nast the very first time, I turned in digital files, and it looked at me like I was crazy.
Yeah.
I had to fly to New York to work with them on how to utilize the digital to film. So crazy. So you understand this process. So for some of you who are graphic designers and print nerds, you know, we would then take our digital file, print it back onto film, and then Condé Nast would take the film, transfer it back onto print. It was an integrated process at that time. Remember that?
Yeah, I do. I remember it all as we jumped off again, but I learned every bit of how to run a magazine from the very bottom all the way to the top. If there was an opportunity for me to work with my boss on a weekend on a project, I would do that. If I had to sweep the floor, I would sweep the floor. And I'm going to tell you something about this guy, because this guy was a real character. He would throw me the keys to his car. You know, I'm working in Manhattan. I was terrified to drive a car in Manhattan. Threw me the keys to his car and said, go get my car washed, okay? And come on back. I'd be like, of course I'll do that. I'll do whatever you want. You want me to, like, mow your lawn to learn what to do? I'll mow your lawn. And he taught me everything. And, you know, he taught me how to be a manager as well, because he was running several magazines at once. He was a group creative director, so I learned how to run a lot of stuff at the same time. But anyhow, sorry, I rant. I'm ranting. I'm ranting.
Well, I would love to jump in now and talk about some of the work that we have done together, and some of the work that you are super proud of as well. So our very first shoot, and I will have to I'm going to bring this image up. So hold on here.
Okay. Let me just grab something over
little
here.
Break there. Don't worry. It's how I can pull up images. There you go.
That's our first shoot.
That was our very first shoot. So guys, Sexiest Woman Alive once a year. I mean, this is 10 years ago.
I know, you know, and it's a different world now. So none of this really happens too much anymore at all.
But back then we celebrated every celebrity, every woman want to be on the cover of Sexiest Woman Alive. And every photographer's dream is to shoot that particular cover. So I was floored when I remember Michael Norson called my studio like, hey, we never worked with Yu Tsai before, but we have this project and we think you'd be great for. And you guys didn't want to tell me who it was. It was so secretive. Remember back then, it was so secretive who that was going to be. We signed NDAs, non-disclosed.
Yeah.
And I believe it was a day before, then we finally found out who it was. And it was in this location that we locked down. It was a pretty incredible time.
Yeah, I didn't go to the shoot. I wasn't even allowed at the shoot. So.
Oh, that's right. I remember
I didn't even go to that.
You said, I'm not allowed to come in for that shoot.
Yeah.
And what a trust that you gave me. Let's talk about that a little bit, because other photographers are always
Of course.
asking, how do you go about making that call for this cover?
I'll tell you, normally we don't give somebody we work with for the first time a cover. Okay. So that was really unique. But here's why we chose you. Number one, you had a lot of experience in motion, okay, with film, okay? And that was really important to us, because at the time, we were like one of the first magazines to really embrace it, really embrace video. Yeah, all of that stuff was starting up. The iPad, was starting up, and all of YouTube and all this crazy crap. And so we hired you because of that. But also, what I liked about your work is you shoot women incredibly, and you know that. I mean, look at what you've gone on to do, after this first cover, which your work now makes this look ridiculous, but it's really amazing. You've become a master. But what I love about your work is your ability to not only shoot women, but to shoot men as well. And talking to the piece hanging behind you, it's very rare that you're able to find somebody who can shoot both well, okay? I would have photographers, I'm not going to name any names, that I would only hire to shoot men specifically. I would have photographers that I would only hire to shoot women. I would have photographers to shoot news stories. I would have reportage photographers. I'd have a group of people. Of course, because because the magazine was so diverse in topic that I needed a group of people to mix things up in terms of visual variety and to pace out the magazine. You were able to accomplish, that's why we worked together for quite a bit, is because you were able to shoot men and women and video. That's a home run.
But I remember a conversation back then, it was something that came up, was that Esquire wasn't really known for fashion. And I remember that was when we had a call. You're like, don't shoot Esquire the way you think Esquire is. Push for the fashion. And I remember on set, I know you weren't there, it was a constant dialogue, like, push it, make it fashion. We can shoot with and without that piece, and then we'll edit and we'll figure out the balance, because people were taking chances at that time, trying to figure things out. And the video we were creating at the time, which I love directing, that's my first, before I was shooting as a director.
Such a great
and narrative piece. And telling a story about Minka, and it was incredible. It was so incredible and amazing. But what I have to say, that day, because you were not there, a creative director was not there, actually made me more nervous, because then you have to turn over film, and for the first time they look at you naked, basically, right? You're like, go off, do whatever, and come back. And that was incredible pressure.
Well, of course it is. And you only get really, I was just discussing this with Jessica, my wife, the other day. You only get really one first shot.
Yeah.
Don't you?
And I miss them. I definitely have misses in my career that I'm like scratching my head going, oh, I remember there was a brand I won't mention. I shot for them and I knew I just wasn't my day. The lighting wasn't my day. Location wasn't my day. I was fighting it. And I literally felt so bad. I'm like, take my feedback, but hire me back again. I was that
They hired you back?
I don't remember. I want to say they did. I don't think they did. Oh, yes. Years later, I did shoot for them again. Different creative director, different art director, but my name was off the blacklist. Thank God.
That's hilarious.
I can tell you. It was Neiman Marcus.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
There you go. And they had me back, thank God. So
the beauty about... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm going to bring it back here. So once you define the photographer, a type of photographer, I happen to be the versatile one that put this particular shoot with Minka. But once you define that photographer, do you start sketching process? Walk us through that creative mind of yours.
Well, the thing is, it's hard. I can sketch as much as I want to sketch, okay? I can sketch all day long. And my editor-in-chief would love to see my sketch. He loved my drawings. He collected my drawings, actually. So but I told him, like, this is all fine. We can go for an idea. And I remember sketching maybe for you too, but I don't.
You sent me a little sketch.
Yeah, a little, but that's just to show like a general kind of composition. But as you know, and I know, the best shoots are when you go in and it's full of surprises, you know, that usually, and it almost sounds like a little bit of a cliche, but it's all the unexpected stuff that turns out to be the greatest shots, in my opinion, you know. Right. I mean, I can plan this out, but once I get it, I may think of something completely different.
Well, I know that when I shoot for other magazines, I know there's a consistency. That's the masthead. But shooting for you is incredibly different because you actually redesign masthead sometimes. You put graphics over the masthead. So there's not even a consistency other than you are the consistency in the process. But the page is truly a blank canvas. And we can look at this. I believe this is one of our second shoot or third shoot that we did together.
Oh, Brooklyn Decker, yeah. And that's after I actually started pulling all that heavy type. I sent you some examples of some other stuff, but this is when I started pulling back. This was conservative. Now, you can't read her name on that cover, Brooklyn Decker's name on that cover, if you can go back to that. You can't, but it doesn't matter. You know it's Brooklyn, you know? I mean, all of this type hiding back. I think we did sketch this, and it turned out it turned out better than I ever thought it was going to turn out.
I know the exact conversation, and I'm going to be the first.
Okay, you go ahead because your memory.
We emulate people's work. We look at what's the best of the best. We look at things that sells the best. This picture is not original. The post is not original. We've seen it all. But this one in particular, I remember you asked me, if you were going to shoot someone, you were going to reshoot any of my covers, who will you shoot and what will you emulate? And it was Angelina Jolie. And I believe the photographer was James White. I want to get that
That's right. Yep, it was James White. Yes, you're right.
And I
you're
love
exactly
his work.
right.
And he was so inspirational to me following his work, growing up in the photography world. So I asked you, can I do a version of that? What can we do a version of that? Put a nod to it. And it's been years since it's covered, so no audience really going to see it because at that time the internet wasn't flooding with all the covers next to each other. Yeah. We didn't have we didn't have that comparison. So you gave me this opportunity, and I was like, let's go for it. And Brooklyn, let's give her credit. Impeccable body, beautiful woman, confident enough to say, I'll work that blanket. Give it to me.
I'll work that blanket. Yeah, she was a professional blanket wrangler, I guess. But you know what's funny? So you look at this. So how do you counter something? How do you kind of make light of the whole thing? That is a perfect opener. You know what I mean? It just brings her down to everyday level.
And
you know,
this is a very special print for me because it's the first time a creative director understood what I was doing when I created this series. I called them 16 expressions. And remember at this discussion, I said, listen, I don't care what you want me to do for a day. I will do whatever you want, but give me 5 minutes with a celebrity alone to do whatever I want. And people always think I'm going to do some news or some crazy stuff. It's these funny expressions I make them do that they never would do for any photos. And I remember when this came out, Brooklyn, like, oh my God, really? My first feature in Esquire, I'm picking my nose. You know what I said to her? Everybody will remember it. Everybody will remember it.
It's funny. It's humbling. It's, it brings her on another level.
It's human.
It's human. Exactly. We weren't trying to, she did it. She looks cute. She's fun. She was a lot of fun. She's a great person. It for us, for Esquire, it kind of breaks that mold of, we just didn't want to be just sexy women. We wanted people who were real too, you know what I mean? And we weren't all sexy women. Obviously there was just one aspect. It's a lot of stuff that you shot for us because you were so good at it. But this brings me to, another point of like, where I don't give you much direction. I like figuring stuff out myself too. I like problem solving when I get the material back as well. I like to be surprised, to be honest. Like, again, I want to give you so much flexibility with your creativity that you're going to surprise me, and I can do something different that I haven't done before because my editor was pushing me to do completely crazy shit, constantly.
Well, I think we have to show this spread because.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
This was
another sexy woman. This is your friend Kate.
Well, I love the inside spread of this because I'll give the audience a little story. This shoe was actually for a cover with Jon Hamm.
Oh
together
gosh.
with Upton.
This is actually a point now. Now this was a fold out, and this is kind of. Do you have it? It's relevant now because this was the time where the Zanesville Zoo massacre was happening, and you have it. So when you open it up, this is crazy. No, that's not even it. That's not even the right one.
Is it the opposite direction?
No, gosh.
Oh no, there was another middle page spread. You know what?
It said, so when you opened up, I'll have to find it and send it to you so you can post it. But it was about the Zanesville Zoo murder, which is so now with the Tiger King thing going on. The cover line was annihilate the animals, something like that. It was such a weird problem to solve. It was Jon Hamm on the cover, and when you open the gate up, it was Kate, who was wearing his jacket, but it somehow folded together. I can't explain it, but it was such a weird problem.
Yeah, I will post
You'll
it.
Post it.
I need to get the file from you. It's a middle spread that connected all.
Yeah,
I
it was the craziest cover. It was one of the toughest problems I had to solve. But it was good. It actually has. That was good. I wish that I was able to solve that problem better in some ways, but I'm happy with it. I'm especially happy with Jon Hamm that ran inside. That was a phenomenal shoot.
So for you guys, this shoot actually happened on 2 separate days because celebrity schedules are so difficult. And and again, David entrusted in me, and I remember this conversation very well. And by the way, back then I'm pinching myself like, why are they asking me? And you were like, listen, you shoot all these Sports Illustrated girls, you're working on this swimsuit shoot. Name one girl that you will absolutely want to shoot, and it would be on the cover of Esquire. And this is when Kate was just at that edge of boiling over to like superstardom. Yeah. And I said to you, you don't know this girl. Her name's Kay Upton. By the time your magazine drop, I guarantee you, you'll be happy to have her because she then will have other competitive magazine covers there follows. Yeah. And I have to say, I'm so proud Esquire got her first before the competitive magazine. Well,
you made it happen. We said, yep, okay, she's on the cover. That was you.
It was such a trust. So what we had to do is make sure the lighting was correct. We had to make sure that jacket actually is Jon Hamm's jacket that we had shipped in, just so that we can match it perfectly, proportionally. And they never met in person until a party. I introduced them both at a party. But that shoot was really crazy because Kay Upton's shoe was by itself, and that itself is just sexy, beautiful.
Yeah.
And then,
but remember how the jacket had to line up perfectly too. Do you remember that?
Yes, it's crazy.
Because go back to the cover. Go back to the cover for 1 second. The Jon Hamm cover for one quick second. All right, you see where that arrow is pointing right there? That's where that yellow arrow. That's where the magazine actually opened up and then folded out.
You know what? I'm gonna do a fast one.
That jacket is actually on the left-hand side is Kate's jacket.
I got it.
You have the original cover?
It's more like this. And then it opened.
Yes, that's it. That's
it. I got it. Let me pop it open so people can see. So guys, I'm gonna fold this better. So yes, I did not get the art direction correctly when I presented this, but this is how it looked on a newsstand. So everything lined up, the clothes and everything lined up perfectly. And then when you get the reveal.
Yes, that's right.
There it is.
Yeah. What a crazy cover.
How are you saying that you didn't solve this? This is like the old Mad magazine that we used to get when we were kids, right?
That's right. Yes, that is. That's exactly right. We tried to do that for such a long time. We did it with you, tried to do the Mad magazine cover. That's so funny. I mean, look at the cover behind you for 1 second. You want to talk about complicated things. So we did manage to do a couple complicated covers together. Now, this is, how many guys were there? 6 guys, correct? All right, so we wanted to use the 6 guys. How the heck were we going to put 6 guys on a cover? So I came up with the idea, let's do 3 separate covers that you can actually put together as one giant cover. You can sell them all separately, put them together as one cover, and the typography and stuff will kind of connect. Those red banners in the background connect. And if you even look, it's hard to see, but they're throwing drinks across the spread and they're landing on the other separate covers. Does that make any sense at all?
But it did make sense for me because I remember this cover. I always remember what I reference and what I appreciate. And this is another nod to another great cover that you've done with another photographer. I don't remember the photographer for that cover. It was Leonardo DiCaprio, and she was throwing the scotch toward the camera.
Oh, yeah, Nigel Perry shot that.
Nigel,
yes, yeah.
Amazing photographer, you guys. Look him up. Look his work up. Beautiful work he created together with David. So what was interesting was that I always loved that shoot, and I asked you about it. You're like, oh, that was accidental. He was just done, and that was what's going to happen with Leonardo. That's what's going to happen. And I work with him, so I know spontaneous thing happens on shoot with him. When I shot with him, he took his suit off and threw it into the pond that we were shooting next to, and that turned out to be the best picture of the day, you know?
Yeah.
But with this one, because it was inspired by that perfect toss of the fluid, the liquid flowing. Now I want to touch on this. So this shoot, not only did we have to make the models, actors, beautiful and strong and manly, unlike the Sexiest Woman would make them curvy and soft. They had to be strong, but they had to be so engaging. And then we wanted them to smile. And at that time, nobody was smiling. Remember? Nobody was smiling.
Yeah. I wanted everybody to be happy on the cover. It's like a celebration. You know, and even the drink stuff, it wasn't, you know, we did that with Leo, but I've also done it with not the throwing of the drink, but just the drink on the cover. I've done it a couple times. It would just seem to embody the spirit of the magazine at the time.
But how funny.
Over drinking. So,
but few droplets of water splashing from one page to another becomes a connective thread that connect all three images together and photos. And do you remember Ezegalba on set? When we told him that we wanted to embody joy, he's like, crank that music up, and he couldn't stop dancing. It was
what a presence. He was such a presence.
Mesmerizing.
Yeah. He was such a huge. This was before he really became a big star too, right? I mean, he was just happening, just like a month before he became a big star.
Yes.
But he was just such a presence on set, wasn't he? All of the guys were really great.
We just knew.
Yeah.
So
I mean, which one really didn't make it out of the whole group back there? Which one? I mean, they've all pretty much done pretty well, you know?
They did really well. And people take time out and they come back, you know? And Armie Hammer had the movie, Call Me By My Name or Call Me By Your Name. I always get it screwed up. You know? Aaron Paul with Breaking Bad. I mean, they're amazing. I love them all. But another thing came out of this shoot is that you guys have to remember, we had to shoot them separately. And I will not remember which one was in the same room with the other. I won't be able to tell you that now. But I can tell you it was an incredible technical shoot. I, as a photographer, had to lock down the lens and know what lens I was using on each person. Because compression changes if you change lensing. And they will look very fake. And for me, it was a technical challenge. And this is a shoot I felt like a graphic designer, really. When I was shooting,
it's very graphic. It's a very graphic shoot. Right? Very graphic shoot, yeah.
And
the composition, look at the composition. You had to plan ahead of time.
And
that composition is planned ahead of time.
Imagine having them crossover, but each of them still feel like a star. Now, one thing you guys need to know, in the magazine world, doing doubles are really hard because there's always ego on set, who gets the front, who gets the left, who gets the right light, and whatnot.
Absolutely.
This one, all 6 of them, the publicist is like, you need to make sure he stands out. You need to make sure he stands out. So we were playing that publicist game, chess game, to make sure everybody was looking at their very best for their very first of their own moment, but then put them all together. And that's where you come in. I mean, you made them look like they really enjoy being there. And we know 1 or 2 of those people was not enjoying our time together.
No, they you have to remember on a photo shoot, it's work. It's work first. It's work for the celebrity. I mean, they get pampered all day. It's a nice feeling for them probably, but I'm sure they'd rather be doing other things. Some people really get into it and some people are really wonderful. Part of the job, not only making them look great is also to pull out like the greatness that you want them to exude. It's a very challenging part and you're very good at it.
And David, for you, you obsess over typography. I see the new word that's on your Instagram with work well with others, and you love type. And
I do, but I don't know. I don't think I'm very good at it. I don't really think I'm very good at it. I've always had people that are really good that work for me now. I have great people that work for me now, and I always feel like I have to get the approval of other people to actually to make sure I'm doing a good job.
Well, I want to bring this cover up. I didn't shoot this cover. Please give the
No,
photographer
that was Art Stryber years ago.
Another amazing iconic photographer. So reason I mentioned you love typography so much because you do beautiful type, and whether or not you think you're good or bad or not, I love your work. I was a type nerd. I was one of those people like, give me a flashcard, any typefaces, I'll name it, I'll tell you who designed it and what year was designed it for. I know my universe from different between Avenir. I know them. It was my thing in school, right? That was my thing.
Yeah.
So with this cover, you forgo the actual traditional typography.
Yeah.
Tell me this process.
All right. Well, again, it brings it back to there are a few things going on in this cover. First of all, if you look at the cover line, if you actually can read part of the cover line, it's a non-traditional cover line. You know, if you look at a fashion magazine, they have you know, the main cover line and then a series of other little cover lines that follow. This is one sentence. This is one graph. This is one paragraph. It starts at the very top, the Genius issue in which George Clooney, I can't read what it says below, blah, 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 and the best and brightest. It's one sentence, and it goes down one graph, and it goes all the way down to the bottom left, and then it travels all the way up the upper right, and it ends on the bottom right.
It itself is an editorial.
Sorry, say that again?
It itself is an editorial.
Yes, that's right. So it's non-traditional. It's a non-traditional cover line, okay? All I did, here's the idea. I didn't have an idea what I was going to do with this cover. I knew it was the Genius issue. I had George Clooney on a white psych. I threw him a pencil, okay? I threw him a pencil. He held the pencil. All I knew is when I got back to New York from LA, I needed to come up with an idea that would make the image work on the Genius issue cover. So this isn't my handwriting. This is the first time. This is the woman named Marion Ducharge, who's a fantastic artist. I told her, here's the image. I want you to do the typography around George. Now, before that, I'd done something similar with typography. I've done my own style. I'm going to bring another
example up.
That's my handwriting now. Now that's my handwriting. That is when, you know, Marion did it first. I didn't think my handwriting was worthy of the cover. And eventually I said, excuse my language, but fuck it, I'm going to do it myself. So I got a Sharpie and kind of went at it. Now, these cover lines are actually interesting too, because they're non-traditional cover lines that my editor and myself came up with. If you read these, and I'm sorry I'm going so close, I have to try to read them. There's a cover line that says, the guy from Captain America, not the captain. You know, it just doesn't say anything. If you look really closely, if anybody pulls this up online, you can read the cover lines. It was a summer issue, and I wanted to get out of the office, so I made it look like, okay, I'm just doing this so I can get the hell out of the office. Let's just ship this. So, yeah, it says it's 5. It says, I think it says somewhere on the cover line, it's 5 o'clock. Can we get the hell out of the office or something like that? But anyhow, this isn't as easy as it looks. Okay, I probably wrote every cover line at least 5 times here, and wrote each character a number of different times, and then composed it, put it all together, and made this. But, you know, this is just the same as the George Clooney. It's about depth and texture, being unique, being really unique on the newsstand, because when you do something this outrageous, whether it's good or bad, if it's different, it'll jump off the newsstand. Newsstand kids, or something that you used to go to buy magazines. And there was a huge competition, and there was a huge competition between what was good and what was bad.
And back then it was very secretive too. And it was very secretive who was going to be on the cover next.
Yeah, very secretive. And it was also you wanted to have something jump off the newsstand. A big test that we used to do at the magazines was you turn around, and then you have a newsstand behind you, and you turn around, and what does your eye go to first? Well, it was my objective to make your eye, the consumer, jump to my magazine first. And I did that with texture, and just, man, when you hold up a bunch of different magazines, these aren't good examples. These are just
I have a
client that I'm working with right now. When you hold up magazines together, okay, and they're all doing the same damn thing, it's easy to stand out when you do something different. You just have to have.
Stand out. This one I just put up, it stood out.
This one, the timing was perfect. And I told a story about this. It's hater in chief, but the first cover line was racist in chief, which I thought was more appropriate. Mm-hmm. And my editor wanted to go with hater. First, he thought maybe racist was too harsh. This was right around the election, 2016.
Do you find that in your work, a lot of time the first rejection is your favorite and always?
Yes, always.
Because our first instinct as designers or photographers, there's something really fresh about that first idea. But in the world of marketing,
it's your instinct.
Yeah, and I know you actually published some of the pictures on IG of this is my rejected versions of Airbnb. Those I love seeing that. I remember growing up in the design world, I would follow Pentagram, right? They were the God logo.
They still are. They're gods.
They still are, and they have published a book once of all the rejected logos, and I thought those logos.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, you know, when I redesigned Airbnb, that was a fun little project. That it's funny because I left the Hearst Corporation, and they brought me back in to fix their fucking magazines. But Airbnb, I thought I was going to be able to push it again. I pushed as far as I could with Esquire, and then I saw the opportunity with Airbnb, and did some really kind of wacky stuff that I thought was beautiful, but they got rejected. So if you want to look at them, go to my Instagram account.
Yes.
I really love them so much more than.
Well,
so much more. And you know what, can I tell you, I'm sorry, I'm just keep on cutting up, but the cool thing is my relationship with David Granger, the editor of Esquire, was really unique. Okay. And where he would allow me to basically do whatever I want to do. And it was just between him and myself. And there was no committee voting on, there was no committee voting on any of this stuff that didn't have to run through focus groups or anything. It just was him and I, and if we felt good about it, it was published.
And it's
really unique. It's really unique.
It shows in the work. It doesn't get that dilution that happens by committee, right? Art has its own, it's subjective, and at that moment, you guys were the creative director. Your vision should come through, and we talk about cover shoots a lot. The inside stories are just as powerful. I love the spread. I love the layout. I love the different technique of art illustrating the same message.
This was all done. This was done in house. This is actually, we took. I wanted the TOC to be a page of art, okay, and I wanted to do it in house. I wanted to create something unique. This is a page. Each square here is an actual image used in the magazine, and then we pulled them from the different pages to create one image. And we did that for a pretty long time, and they were pretty beautiful. I actually have a couple of those hanging in my house. And the woman who actually was working for me at the time, her name is Erin Jang, and look her up because she's a phenomenal artist. And I really enjoyed working with her. I missed her when she left to kind of do a couple of things, and then now she's on her own. She does some great work, but she's a true artist. And these were a lot of fun. But again, you know, it's an opportunity for me as a creative director, as an art director, to convince my editor to just make art, beautiful art. And it's a lot different for me now with Works Well with Others because my clients are corporate clients. So now I'm running stuff through, you know,
let's talk about that because
a whole line
of
people approving my work now, and I'm not used to it.
12 years at Esquire, you got to create, you got to do what you love to do. You open an agency, and now you have your own design group.
In my career before that, I got to do whatever I wanted to do too.
Yes.
So.
And your partner, Jessica, I had the opportunity to work with as well. She was at 17 Magazine.
Yeah,
we
she was a creative director
together. So tell me about this working relationship and how different are you guys in your work and how does it work?
We're very different because Jessica has a fashion background and I have more of a newsy celebrity background. She has a celebrity background as well. it's a perfect kind of match because she'll take on the stuff that I'm not good at, and I'll take on the stuff that she's not good at. So, you know, one of my clients is Indian Motorcycle. That's you know, I got the free T-shirt here. Indian Motorcycle. I ride a motorcycle. I love motorcycles. That's a dream gig for me. I compose a little coffee table book for him biannually, and I handle that myself. Jessica has Delish as a client. She does all their cookbook covers.
That cover.
You do?
Well, you know I cook, right? I have a
yes, I do, and congratulations on your show. It's great.
Thank you so much. So of course I'm like, let's work on a cookbook, and I saw the cover. I go, wow, this is not a traditional cookbook cover. This is the book for food. You celebrated food like I celebrated Beautiful Women. It was so beautiful. Yeah.
Jessica also, we had a project for Delta Airlines. Jessica handled that. She was more suited for that. That's when Zach Posen redesigned their uniforms, and it was more of a fashiony kind of lookbook for them. And, you know, so it depends. Together right now, though, we are producing, God bless them, Golf Magazine, which I play golf, which I actually like. We're both producing Golf Magazine at the same time right now. And it's fun. You know, it's fun. It has a lot of sameness. They demand a lot of the same look together from month to month. They want a consistent quality, and we give it to them. You know, but there's Go ahead.
For someone who wants to get into the same field as you as being a creator, what books would you recommend them to read? I have one.
I gave you one, right?
I have one. I don't know which one you gave me. I don't remember.
Oh, Fabien Baron. The new Fabien Baron book works from 1983 to 2000. I have it written down. Hold on.
Yes, the Fabien Baron book is beautiful. Fabien Baron has designed
works 1983 to 2019 is, I mean, talk about somebody who's influenced my work completely. All of us. I mean, what he did with Harper's Bazaar was just. I used to collect all the Harper's Bazaars. I wasn't so much interested in the fashion aspect of it. It was the typography and the beautiful.
The French Vogue, the identity he created for French Vogue.
Oh my God! And Interview Magazine, the revamp of Interview. I mean, the guy is just so prolific. It's amazing. And what he taught me, and what he could teach you, viewer, is just how to kind of push things enough to create something beautiful. Because if you play it too safe all the time, you're never going to learn. Right? You're never going to learn.
I grew up reading. This is the book that any young designer asks me, how do I understand about typography? There's a book called Stop Stealing Sheep. I don't know if you've seen that book or not.
I don't know. No.
It's pick it up, you get a chance. It's a great book for young designers learning about typography, how type emotionally changes you, how it reflects when it's on something else. It's a simple read. You can get through in one day. Has great illustrations. There's a little type guide in there in case you forget what's the difference between Helvetica and Helvetica Neua, and why was Univer designed for transportation, and why does it work on road signs in Europe. And it has those juicy stories, and when you understand what type does emotionally, and it makes sense when you begin to put those typefaces next to your photography. Because nothing worse than the photographer who works so hard to create an image and turns over to a magazine, and when a magazine comes out, and by the way, guys, we don't see the magazine. We don't see the layout. We see the same time you do when you buy the magazine. And
I know.
I know. There are days I'm just like, oh my God. Now, back in the day, you're like, oh my God, I won't put in my portfolio, nobody will see it. But these days, they're on Instagram, and you just have to say, yay, it's there.
That's it. I know.
And that's the beauty, the balance, and I think the things that you guys can take away from this conversation is that as a creative director, photographer, and photo directors, and editor-in-chief, it's like a balance game, right? We all have to balance each other, but we're all there for the common goal, because a lot of work goes into choosing who's going to be on that cover. And we come in the very last train. Truly, I'm the last leg of the train, right? Capture the image, and then it goes to you, and you're like the stop, like the stop at the station. This is it. Everything's here, gather, and you put it together in an amazing celebration of images like this. I am so proud to have work with you, and I hope we get to do stuff together again and again.
I hope so too.
Listen, I don't care if I shoot food for you. I don't care if I shoot cookies.
No, we will. I just, I have to say, like, we started this company and we've been kind of picking at it. We haven't pushed as far as we need to push and to grab the clients that we absolutely would love. We're gonna do that after this whole pandemic thing kind of dissipates. It's a new beginning for everybody after we get through this. That's the way I'm looking at it. I'm gonna go get the gigs that I want, and I'm gonna hire you for the gigs that you want, and it'll be a lot of fun.
You know what? It'd be an honor, because I mean, I love to create, and the reason I even hear talking, and I have to give you and Weldon, I kind of pronounce his name wrong all the time. Weldon, is it the fashion director?
Oh, it was Nick Sullivan.
No, but Nick also.
Wendell Brown.
Wendell, thank you. I always get the two names. I love. Wendell. Yeah. So I'll tell you this, and I'll always credit him for this. While we were shooting these 6 talents back here, there was a BTS camera, behind the scene camera, and there was an on-camera interview as well. And I remember specifically at that time that there was nobody hired to be on-set interviewer. So I began to take on the responsibility of asking the questions, and the camera started turning toward me. And Wendell said to me, after this entire shoot was over, he came out and tapped on my shoulder. He says, "You need to do this. You got something. You need to do this." And you know what? So I am so grateful that he said that. I'm so grateful that he put that bug in my ear. And the fact that we all in 360 of a circle right back to where we started, I just want to give him a nod and say thank you so much. And Nick Sullivan,
of course.
Amazing. Yes. And one of the things that I did regret that I didn't get to work on with you is the big book. The
big black book. Yeah. Big black book
was so beautiful because it was celebrating everyday people a lot, not a lot of models in there. And I would beg you guys, I'm like, let me shoot everyday people, please.
I know that was such a, that was a second publication that we did that was a real monster. That had a certain feel and look. I didn't want to mix too many photographers up to get between the main magazine and the other. Do you have some of that up? Do you have any of that stuff?
I don't. No? I'm going to go ahead and post it. No. And David, Instagram's going to cut us off in 3 minutes. I knew that.
Okay, so let me just say one thing. I need to say one last thing. The most important thing, everybody, is also the presentation of yourself in this business. You need to be, and you're the master of it, Yu Tsai. You're the master of it. You need to present yourself in a very, very, you can't be too cocky. You've got to be willing to bend. And you need to be really fucking talented. But you also need to be very smart, and you can't be a prima donna. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
But with you, I'm going to leave everybody with this. I'm sure we're going to come back and have more conversations. But thank you, David, for being here. But one thing you guys need to know about David is that on his shoot, you must have fun. Because he's actually a rock star. So next time when you come back, you got to give us some guitar. You got to give us some action. And we'll talk about that, how outside things influence you to do what you do. And I am so grateful for my career, to where it's at, and having this journey with you. And we will do many more together. And you guys, thank you for joining us today. Instagram has a very limited amount of time. We can't keep on going because it's taking up bandwidth. But
keep in touch. Keep in touch.
Keep in touch. And the reason we created this show is so that creative people can continue to talk and keep our passion at our heart and at flow and deliver to you. So if you have any questions at all, please DM us, DM David, and he will be posting stuff that we talked about as well. And this will be on YouTube later. So thank you guys for joining me. And thank you, David, very much for being here. And next time, let's make sure that I get to talk to Jessica.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.